Hello and welcome to another video from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Today I'm joined by David to look at the best captaincy options for game week 15. David, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm relieved, I have to say, after game week 14, I so nearly, my captain run, my 14, well, previously 13 game week long run of my captain always delivering nearly came to an end because Aguero didn't play and it switched to Hazard as my vice captain and just about saved me in the end. Got me
Yeah,
an assist right at the death and tided me over for another week. I got lucky because I originally vice captain Salah and changed it to Hazard before the deadline. So hopefully, as we embark on another game week, quick turnaround, have a look at some more options. Hopefully, I can carry it on again with something a little bit less fortunate than a Hazard assist at
so
the end of
well,
a
so
terrible
so
game.
once again, people should pay close attention to who you are suggesting you're going to be captaining, and also who you're going to be vice captaining, because I
Yeah,
think I've got
yes,
a feeling vice captains are going to be needed
yes, absolutely.
over the festive fixtures. One player that we hope won't be rested, in fact, he just seems immune to rest, is Harry Kane. Looking at these fixtures against the home game against Southampton, it's one I kind of penciled in to say this Harry Kane looks like the best deal. We know that his form has been improving. He's getting consistent, steady returns. We found out today that Southampton have actually parted company with Mark Hughes. I don't know whether that will have an effect immediately on the team. I doubt they'll get a manager in place and ready to completely transform them in 2 days. But what's your feeling about Harry Kane? Is he the standout captain option this week?
Yes, I think absolutely he is because I can't really see a case against him. So all of the other options that we will talk about, I think, come with a bit of a caveat, but I don't think Kane does. Yeah, okay, maybe some people might say that he's playing too much football, but I don't know. Basically looking at the form, he's top of the charts last 4 game weeks for shots on target with 12, for shots as well with 19. That's what we want to see. So I think we can say that Kane is, in inverted commas, back to what we expect from him. The fixture is great as well. I've seen a lot of people a bit and kind of sad that Hughes has left because it's historically his teams haven't been particularly great defensively, and there's people kind of going, oh, that's a shame. I wanted another really poor Mark Hughes defensive organisation to face Kane, and now he's not there anymore. That might not be the case, but no, I think it absolutely will be because these games are hard to prep for anyway in a couple of days. And if you've got no manager, I mean, how can they possibly prepare anything in terms of like shape or defensive tactics to face Spurs? I just can't see that. I just think it'll be just an absolute mauling because I mean they're poor defensively anyway. They haven't got a manager, and Spurs now absolutely need to come back fighting with a win because that would have really hurt losing that game against Arsenal in the manner that they did.
Yeah, I mean
On the
that's.
week,
I mean, yeah, their loss against Arsenal. There's someone who's looking at to captain Harry Kane this week. I thought was a godsend. Really, that's exactly what you want. You don't want them resting on their laurels. You want them to realise that they've got to fight for every win, and there's an opportunity here with Southampton to bounce back. They've got another Premier League game this weekend, and then they've got a crucial Champions League game. They need to keep that momentum going. And as we know, well, Kane could get rested at some point, but out of all of the players that could get rested, it's usually not him. I was
well,
going
I
to,
mean, the other thing is, I was just going to say, last Christmas, the only reason he missed any game at all was because of illness.
yeah, the
And
cold.
if he didn't have the cold, then he would have played all of them.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
The
I mean, I know Poch said he would like to rotate more, but Kane has even shown he's immune to Christmas, if that makes sense. He just
okay.
wasn't immune to a cold because he's still human.
No, yeah, still human. You're going to say there's can't think of a bad point. I have got a caveat actually with Harry
Oh,
Kane,
okay. Well, far away.
and that is that he is a little like Aguero and Salah. Now you might think that's a good thing, but this season it hasn't been a good thing in terms of the captaincy, because he's not getting those explosive returns, those double-digit hauls on a regular basis. The brace, he's getting the odd goal. Even in the with the Arsenal game, all he got was a penalty as well. So he is getting strong underlying statistics, but his actual returns as a captain are on a par with Salah and Aguero, which is consistent and not great. And in recent weeks, it's been those that have captained have strayed beyond those ones and have gone slightly maverick and gone maybe captaining Sterling, Aubameyang, and some of the other players we're going to mention in this video as well. Sané is another as well. I've seen people captain with much greater success. So that's my only caveat with him. I think I'll get returns, but I'm worried that I'm not going to get perhaps the explosive returns we like. When we talk about explosive returns, well, the next player we're going to look at here, Aubameyang. Now he has got explosive returns. He can get explosive returns off the bench as well. So this was a 16-point haul he got at the weekend in that same fixture, and arguably quite a good fixture for him away to Manchester United. Of old, that was a tough one. What do you think about Aubameyang as an actual better option than Kane this week?
Yeah, I certainly understand the case for it, because there's plenty of advantages to getting him instead. Because I mean, to start off with, you get him, you save 1.5 million, I think it is, and you can maybe use that elsewhere, or it might save you a hit. For example, if you're going Aguero into Kane, which a lot of people are thinking about this week, that's going to cost you a hit if you haven't got the money. Aubameyang won't. That's not a problem. Man United, as you say, defensively terrible, 2 clean sheets this year. I mean, they're Southampton. This season haven't scored many goals. I think it was in home matches they'd scored 0.67 goals per home game this season, and then went and scored 2 against Man United because Man United's defence is terrible, and they've got injuries all over the shop. They've got one fit centre back, that's Phil Jones. So that meant that Mourinho had to basically line up a back three which had 2 central midfielders in it, in Matic and McTominay, and that feels like the recipe for disaster for Man United, and just more goals for whoever's playing up front for Arsenal in that game.
What's your caveat with him though? It sounds perfect.
Yes, for him, I think it's just, first up, it's rotation, which isn't a huge one because he has started more games than he hasn't, but Emery does have the personnel to do that. And I was quite surprised to see Lacazette not start against Spurs. I mean, it's the North London derby. It pretty much does not get much bigger than that for Arsenal this season, because I don't think they're going to really be challenging for the title. In terms of individual one-off games, Emery's first ever North London derby, and he's left Lacazette on the bench, which tells me that he would be prepared to bench Aubameyang against Man United, if that makes sense. If he's prepared to bench one of his best strikers for one of his biggest games, then I can't see why he wouldn't. For me, Aubameyang, it just isn't immune to a rotation. That's the way I see it. And if rotation is going to happen more in the next couple of weeks, then that's my slight concern with him. The other one is also just underlying stats as well. Yes, he's kind of explosive, but this doesn't compare with Kane in the underlying numbers. I always like to kind of go with safety in bigger numbers. So it's 19 shots for Kane, 12 for Aubameyang. 10 of Kane's have been in the box, 8 of Aubameyang's have been in the box. So those two are all right. But basically, Kane's 12 shots on target, Aubameyang just 3.
I was going to say, that's the telling underlying statistic.
That's the really telling one. I mean, the goals he scored in that game were fantastic. But, I will always kind of think that the North London derby kind of, there's unquantifiable things that make, that it's unpredictable. It's a derby game. So, I wouldn't be predicting another Aubameyang brace, especially not off 3 shots on target in 4 games, because actually that's quite poor. So, yeah, that's the way I see it with Aubameyang.
Well, before we move on to some of the other options, I just want to point out as well, people often say, oh, you don't mention some of the alternatives for teams. And but obviously Lacazette is an option, I would say, for this. He was coming back from injury, so it seems likely that he'll get significant minutes in this game. He's an option. And the same token with Spurs as well. Ali, Eriksen and Son. I'd be surprised if there isn't some rotation there. And it's a question of which one. So it might be a bit too risky for some people. But if we can assume that each of those will start, all of those are all good options as well. So we're not ignoring them as well. But another good option this week, and this is less about the player and more about the opposition. It's Salah against Burnley. Now, the picture I put up on the screen isn't of Salah. It's of Crystal Palace going absolutely wild with joy, finally scoring more than 1 goal in front of their fans, and the headline that we got in Scout Notes there on the website is it's the Burnley effect, and boy, is it a Burnley effect. So I was having a look at shots conceded. I thought I'll have a look at shots conceded over the season, just see how bad Burnley are. Well, they've conceded 299 shots, and the next nearest is Brighton with 236. So, and then Fulham 231. So these are other poor defences in terms of conceding goals, but Burnley are out there on an absolute mile in a league of their own with conceding shots, and of course we know that Salah gets a lot of shots as well. What do you think about Salah? Could this be one where he finally gets above an 8-point return?
Yeah, no, I think it could be. I mean, I think just looking at it from, so obviously Burnley's defensive stats are terrible. Looking at it at Palace's offensive stats from that game compared to what they've been like this season, that for me is the telling story. It just tells you that whenever anyone plays Burnley, it's a bit of an outlier. You know that they're going to have loads of chances. So I think Palace had averaged something like 13 shots per home game this season. They had 29 against Burnley. It's
Wow.
just absolutely mad. And to be honest, like if they'd have been playing anyone else, they might not have won because they missed so many. You know, they only pretty much, it's basically just the law of averages. They had so many shots. That's how they ended up managing to score. I mean, one had a bit of an element of fortune about it. One certainly didn't. That Townsend goal was incredible. But yeah, just anyone who's going to come up against Burnley is going to have so many shots. I think that particular game, only 2 games this season have had more shots in than that one. So, and it's Palace.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the thing.
it's not Man City. It's not. I mean, Man City are one of the teams that had more shots against Burnley, obviously. But you know, if a team like Palace that have really struggled for goals can do that against home against Burnley, then Liverpool surely are gonna. I would expect that to be at least 4-0. I mean, the only thing that maybe puts me off a little bit is again possibly rotation, because actually I think Klopp could play the reserves and win that game 3-0.
Well, I think. Do you know what I think? I thought Salah coming off at around the 70-minute mark in the Merseyside derby, that told me that he wants him to be getting significant minutes midweek. I think.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think that's true. Yeah.
The fact Mane possibly, we're going to do another video tomorrow on looking at the press conferences, rounding up the news there. But the latest I heard was that Mane has got some kind of cut on his foot as well, which may hamper him as well. So Salah would definitely be needed. I must admit, it's between Kane and Salah for me so far.
Yeah, no, I think I'm the same. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Salah is that the only thing that puts me off is just recent form and the fact that we haven't seen anything particularly explosive from him yet. But of course, you know, I should be telling myself it's Burnley, it's Burnley, it's Burnley. That should be setting off alarm bells for anyone who's still got him and considering, you know, whether or not it's him or Kane for the captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you and I could both score against Burnley. So there we go. I've laid that down there.
Well, we'd at least have a shot, put it that way.
We'd definitely have
we
a
might
shot.
not get it on target.
We'd give it a blooming good go.
Exactly, we'd definitely get a shot.
So all the weeks, the big success stories in the captaincy has been at Man City, and it hasn't been Aguero. It's been Sterling and those that have taken a punt on Sané as well. Even those that have been captaining David Silva, even though he missed out on a start, they've been doing better as well. So the article says it all that we had recently, attempting to decipher the Man City puzzle after game week 14, particularly with their midfield as well. This is more, I think, whichever Man City players are going to play are going to get you returns, and they're all good. Silva, Sané, Sterling, if Aguero's fit, all of them potentially. Well, maybe not Aguero because of his away record. Who knows? But those 3 midfielders definitely all good. What's your thinking on the best Man City captaincy option? And this is going to be dictated a lot by who you think's actually going to play.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think whoever plays is going to do well. I mean, Man City, they won 6-0 there last year. They won 5-0 there the year before. And obviously they were different managers, different teams. But it's Man City, so I think that's by the by. I don't really think they care who they're playing against. But yeah, that's the key. I think the key word in the headline of the article is attempting, because that's all you can do. Is that you can't ever completely decipher that puzzle. And if someone asked me who's going to start for Man City against Watford, I would just put my hands on, but I have absolutely no idea. You never know what Pep's going to do. He doesn't seem to do it in a way that's logical half the time. And he doesn't. I think it would be great if some people, I'm going to use a football manager analogy here. A lot of people, when they used to play that game, would maybe have 2 11s, and it would be like if you had maybe 4 games in 2 weeks, you'd have an A team and a B team, and you just switch straight from it to the other one. He doesn't do that. Only he understands how his rotation policy works, because he's been here long enough. If we were going to crack it, we'd have done it by now.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to point out we're recording this before Pep's press conference today.
That's right,
so many people who'll be watching this will be watching this after that. There may be some clues there. On past experience, there probably won't be, and we'll still be scratching our heads.
So I mean, kind of breaking the options down. Then I mean, Aguero, I'd love to, if he had away form, then I'd be considering him. But of course, the injury is a bit of a doubt. But the problem is, I just don't know how much that was an issue. Like, it honestly could have just been an excuse for him to not play him against Bournemouth so he can play him against Watford. I mean, he scored Aguero himself has scored 5 goals in his last 2 trips to Vicarage Road. So, I mean, if there's ever going to be a time when he's going to break that away duck this year, or, he's already scored, but as in, if he's going to try and, go against the tide of what he's done away from home, then Watford could be the one. But I'm not going to captain him if I have no information on him, which is almost certainly what will have happened in that press conference. We'll just get no information. Sterling played 90 minutes against Bournemouth, so actually I think he's now more likely to not play. So I wouldn't want to captain him either. I guess people who've got him, you've mentioned before, Joe, it's rare for him to not start and then come on. So maybe you'll be all right with Sterling, and just as long as your vice captain is someone that you're confident in, like maybe Salah or Kane, someone we think is going to start. But then when you start to, honestly, I actually think that because I think that a big part of having your captain is someone you know is going to play, I actually think someone like David Silva, Riyad Mahrez, or maybe Sané are a better captain option from Man City this week, because I feel like they're more likely to start. So Sané, obviously, I think is more likely to start because of the whole Mendy thing, and I don't really think anyone else in the team can offer what he can on the left. And some of Pep's comments has basically said that as long as Sané is playing like he did against Bournemouth, he will play games, which you could read as he's just going to play all of them.
Yeah, I mean, he said a similar thing about Bernardo Silva earlier in the season, nailed on, and it turns out he wasn't actually.
I mean, maybe you take it with a pinch of salt, but I think Sané, there's less competition for his place. Mahrez and Silva didn't play against Bournemouth, so if you have them, then I'd consider captaining them, because
given Pep's comments in general about David Silva, but also recently, in that he definitely wanted to rest him at the weekend with Watford in mind. He was talking about if he played Watford without that rest, it wouldn't go well. So that, once again, attempting to decipher. I'm 95% sure David Silva will start against Watford.
But he's about the only one I think we can be. Maybe Mahrez as well.
But at the same time, I just think with those, I think if you're minded to captain Sterling, just do it, because he's a great captaincy option. But yeah, watch out for rotation. Hazard, your saviour, so keeping your 100% record against Fulham. So once again, I thought Hazard was good in that game, and I thought he was let down by his strikers, and I think he could have got definitely more assists. And with 4 shots in that game, I think he definitely could have got a goal as well. So that was a good sign, I think, for Hazard. I've actually just removed him from my team. I'm a bit worried, but I think that Hazard is a really solid option this week away to Wolves, who are very leaky. What's your thoughts on Hazard for the captaincy?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I mean, he's on the chopping block for me as well potentially. So it's always tough to kind of back someone for a captaincy if you are thinking of selling them. But I think if you're holding on to them, then maybe Wolves have seem to have regressed a little bit defensively. We did a little bit of an analysis of their numbers recently, and they were basically they were conceding fewer chances, but they were conceding more big chances. So in the key moments, their defence is letting themselves down, and they seem to be better defensively away from home than they are at home. So the fixture's not as, so if we were looking at that fixture 6 weeks ago, then I think we would think it was a tough call. Whereas now I think I could comfortably predict that Chelsea would probably win it, which is a good start if we're talking about captaincy candidate for Hazard. I think you're right about kind of the factors around him. So I mean, he's had 10 chances created in the last 4 game weeks, which is just considerably more than some of the other people we've been talking about. It's double what double what Aubameyang has done, and 10 times more than Kane. Kane's only created 1 chance in that time. So he has not available possibly. But I was expecting more out of him because Giroud played, and we saw that Giroud started that match, and it didn't really translate into the absolute drubbing we expected. And then of course Morata just let him down. There was a couple of chances where he put him through and he missed it. So I think that's got to count against Hazard. I really do this week, because if it's a choice between, someone like Kane, who's the spearhead of an attack that has actually been in good form, he's in good form himself, playing a team with a much worse defence than Wolves. Or if you're looking at Salah, who's going to have all the time space in the world to have as many shots as he wants. Or even Sterling or David Silva, who, if they're going to be creating chances, they're going to be completed by someone who we know is ruthless. Compare that to Hazard, who is putting chances forward for people who aren't ruthless, then that has to count against it, which is sad for him as an individual, of course, because he is still a great player. But sometimes there are factors around your captain that don't involve their performance that kind of change your mind a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thing. Seeing Giroud on the team sheet as a Hazard owner at the weekend, I was hooray, and it didn't.
Yeah, I was over the moon.
It didn't quite transpire how we wanted it to be, and that indicates as well that Morata will get the start this week, and we know. He's like kryptonite to Hazard's potential goal scoring and assist potential. So that for me was I think I'd be safe to say it would be a surprise if Morata got a massive haul and Hazard also got a haul on the back of that. But you never know. But I think all the options.
Very good at trolling people is Hazard. So.
Yeah, all of the options that we've spoken about. I think there's so many better ones, and I think Kane, Aubameyang, Salah, they've got, and the Man City mids, they've all got such strong potential about them. Before we go, there's obviously a few other players. So people fancy taking a bit of a punt here. I mean, I've noted down a few here. Arnautovic at home to Cardiff. Arnautovic came off early, so that indicates he's going to have minutes again. Cardiff as well, quite leaky. Sigurdsson or Richarlison at home to Newcastle. That's a great fixture, I think. Sigurdsson in particular is one I think could be quite an unusual one. And Callum Wilson at Bournemouth at home to Huddersfield. Now, Huddersfield had been doing quite well defensively, but then Brighton came along, and I've got to admit I was surprised. But then they were down to 10 men, so
that's right, yeah.
That may have been the cause there. But they didn't look right. And sometimes teams with 10 men can be a bit tougher to break down because they just solidly defend. So I think Wilson there. Any others you think if someone wanted to ignore some of the amazing options we've already discussed?
Yeah. No, I like the ones you've chosen. I think Arnautovic is a good shout, although just because I haven't really mentioned it in anything we've sort of done yet. Interestingly, the game against Newcastle, he seemed to have a slightly deeper role to Chicharito.
He did. Hernandez was further forward.
It's possible now that Chicharito's 3 goals in his last 2, so he's done enough, in my opinion, to stay in the team. And obviously, Arnautovic plays better at number 10 than Chicharito does. And it's just a bit of a shame because actually both of Chicharito's goals, that would have been Arnautovic 2 weeks ago, as in that position. So it's a bit frustrating. Sigurdsson, I think, is a really great shout against Newcastle, especially because they are heavily, heavily susceptible to set pieces, and that's what Sigurdsson lives off. So, he's obviously sharing some of it with Digne, but he's taking the free kicks, whereas I think Digne's taking the corners. So he's definitely one worth thinking about. And of course, he is offering a great little best of both worlds this year in terms of goal threat and creativity. So he'd be a good differential possibly. Wilson is another one worth thinking about. But I was just going to pick out Glenn Murray simply because he's only blanked in 1 home game this year, and it's Crystal Palace. So I feel like that's kind of like the narrative is there. The 2 clubs don't get on. It's a big rivalry match, and he used to play for them as well. So
some people are surprised that there's actually a derby. It's a rivalry clash because there's about 90 miles between them, or 50 miles or so. But yes, as a Brighton fan and a Brighton resident for many years, this is real. It is a very real rivalry, as real as Portsmouth against Southampton and Arsenal against Tottenham. And Murray is, of course, an ex-Palace player as well.
Exactly.
As well. So I think that's a good shout. That's a good one there. And a fitting way to end. Lots of options this week. Very long captain video this week because there's so many good options. I don't think there'll be a particular runaway leader there. David, good luck with the game week, and good luck with your captaincy, 100% record.
Yeah, it's on the line. Yeah, cheers, and good luck to you as well.
Cheers.